Question 6 relating to Jeff Robson and his left cheekbone fracture was outline the assessment of injuries procedure that the trainer would have gone through when approaching the injured player for this type of injury. Now, I've even put in brackets, make sure all areas are covered even if unable to be performed. And I know that we've spoken about this on numerous occasions in my class at least, and I'm sure Mr. Culnane has done the same, that you need to go through and explain to us all areas, or outline all areas of concern here. Now, if we go and look at, so we're talking here about the assessment of injuries. We go and look at the syllabus, and what we'll notice, assessment of injuries, it comes under toe taps. So similar to the question looking at Quade Cooper, you cannot be talking about RISA in this answer. You must be talking about toe taps because there's no mention of the play being off the field for the management. It is the immediate assessment. Now, even if you come back to where the question, it says, outline the assessment of injuries procedure that the trainer would have gone through when approaching the injured player for this type of injury. So we're talking straight away about an assessment of injury, which is the toe taps, and all areas need to be included. We'll go and have a look at our sample. It's sort of spread over 3 pages. First one here is that we've got the assessment of this hard tissue injury that was direct would include the toe taps regime. So these were written in red, but when you scan them, they come out a little bit lighter, so it's talk. Establish what happened through asking questions such as, on a scale of 1 to 10, what is the pain like and how heavy was the impact? So we're asking questions to talk to the athlete. There's the first bit. Then we go to the next page. Observe, touch, active movement, passive movement, and skills test, which then carries on over to this page as well. But the big concern for me with this question was that you needed to go through and you needed to relate it to the injury that was happening and what you were going to be doing for each of those areas. Remember, this is the trainer who's approaching them. RICE is not required here. The other thing I said is that if you got to active movement and Jeff Robson's got a fractured cheekbone and you're thinking yourself, well, I'm not going to get him to move his face. He's obviously fractured. He's in a bit of pain. I still required you to tell me what active movement was and how it would be included. I also need you to tell me what passive movement was and how it would be included. What's the difference between these two? Active movement, the injury or the injured person tries to move the injured limb or their cheekbone themselves. Passive movement would be the trainer helps you move it, whether he tries to just move his jaw with his hands, open or closing his mouth. They're the things that you need to have in your answer to show what was happening. And that's what this person's got, open and close his mouth. So that was the concern. The last thing was the skills test. If obviously you've said that, due to the nature of the injury, he's not going to be continuing on, there'd be no need to perform a skills test, which you've got here, severity of in this case. A skills test would not be undertaken, but something taken off the field to successfully manage the hard tissue injury. So at least the person went through and told me what skills test was. And that was the issue, that people were getting to active movement and they were just stopping. And that's something I need to keep remembering, that you need to go through and give all areas. This was, again, toe taps, the assessment of injuries, not management, but in particular, the assessment of injuries as it states here. Outline, sketching in general terms, indicate the main features of. But as this question stated, you need to include all areas of toe taps. And even as you can see here, make sure all areas are covered even if unable to be performed. Students still left out the last 3 areas, just assuming that this wouldn't happen. You must relate to the Jeff Robson injury. Overall, this question was pretty poorly set out with underlining and the way which you need to play the game, get in the system to show people where your answer is. And you actually need to include a lot more detail. Some people gave very, very brief explanations of what was happening at each of the areas of toe taps. You need a lot more detail and examples for every single part to show what was going on. And that was question 6, which, as I said, overall was poorly answered by most students.